Thank you for tuning in to another segment of Breaking the Cycle. I'm joined by my co-host, Sheriff Joe McDonald, and our guest, Susie Lordi from 24 Hour Power. Susie, thanks for joining us. 2 weeks ago, the Mass DPH released figures in the latest quarterly opioid-related overdose death reports. The data showed the death rates continue to decline, falling an estimated 4% between 2016 and 2018. For the first 3 months of this year, 2019, preliminary data shows 497 confirmed and estimated opioid-related overdose deaths. The report shows a decline statewide, but highlighted there are many pockets, including in Plymouth County, who had notable declines. The report said the city of Brockton experienced a notable decrease in deaths in 2018 compared to 2017. Although we're encouraged by these numbers, one overdose is one too many. Neither myself or the sheriff have a crystal ball, but we know how hard everyone is working at this issue on all fronts. This includes finding some innovative, artistic ways for people in recovery to have outlets and to find hope. Susie Lordi is the founder of 24 Hour Power. She's been on the front lines in the recovery community for many years. Susie, will you tell us a little bit about your own story about recovery?
Sure. Thanks so much for having me join you here today.
Thank you.
So, let's see. I started using drugs and alcohol myself at a very early age. I grew up in a Roman Catholic family in Rockland, Massachusetts. I'm the baby of a large family, and I am the only one that found themselves addicted to both drugs and alcohol. So back in the day, because let's date myself, you know, this was many moons ago before fentanyl. Thank God I wouldn't be here today. So back then there was an awful lot of stigma and shame and guilt around if you had someone in your family that was an active addict or alcoholic, let alone the baby of an Italian Roman Catholic family going to Catholic schools and everything else. So needless to say, already as the addict and alcoholic, I felt different and not a part of, right? Then you add that kind of pressure from the family circle, and, you know, to give you an example, and my parents were great people. You know, I can't even say I came from this, you know, terribly abusive household. Not the case. But, you know, someone would say, geez, where's Susie been lately? And, oh, you know, she's visiting relatives or something. And meanwhile, I'm in a treatment center somewhere, or I've run away somewhere, but no one's ever going to say the word, she's in a treatment center. Right. You know, so things have changed a lot since then, but the bottom line was I did use drugs and alcohol for 20 plus years. And it took me 10 years trying to stop after those 20 years to actually keep it down. So if anything, I know exactly how hard it is to put that down and to keep it down. It's one thing to stop. It's an entirely different thing to stay stopped. And to be perfectly honest, if people don't have addiction in their own DNA, they really don't understand it. You know, this is the one disease I always tell everyone that it's the only disease that tells you you don't have a disease. You know, and that's where that's where the initial problem starts. And from there, I'm just very fortunate that that I'm around to tell the story and to say that there's another side to this coin, because the silver lining ending of my story is I now celebrate 25 years of consecutive sobriety. So it can be done, but it's a very tough road. I'm not going to sugarcoat it.
Was there something that happened 25 years ago that made that final determination of you said you were in treatment centers and rehabilitation
everything.
And wasn't working?
Bounced in and out all the time.
And what happened to you in your life that changed
You know,
that?
two things. One, that's a great question too. One of the things that happened was I stood at the turning point and I realized I was going to die. So that was just, I knew I was going to die from drugs and alcohol. And two fears came into my head. One was that I didn't want it to be in my obituary because I didn't want to hurt my parents with the, you know, Susie died and it's a direct result of drugs and alcohol. I mean, I could just picture that would just kill them. That was one thing. The other thing was, to be perfectly honest, I was afraid to get up to the pearly gates. I figured I'll get up there, You know, St. Peter's going to be there. I'm going to be there. There's going to be some kid with spina bifida up there that saved the world. And then there's going to be Susie that didn't use any of her God-given talents down here. And guess what? I'm not getting in. So that's pretty much what I was afraid of at the time. So it scared me into saying, this is it. I better do something good with my life down here before I go meet him. That's how I felt. And I have a much kinder version of God today, but at the time, it certainly did the trick for me, and I'm very grateful, because I'll tell you what, the last time I quit, I didn't need a treatment center. I walked right into an AA clubhouse in South Florida, and that's one thing that we'll talk about in this show coming down the road, but I really miss those. They're wonderful. They're open almost 24/7, and they just offer a lot of events, services, everything going on there, and it's a huge help. It was for me. So I would go into that place at 5:30, 6 in the morning. The old timers would be waiting for me, and of course they must have thought, you know, well, this one's a character, which of course I was, you know.
You still are.
Just keep coming back, honey, you know, and don't pick up. And so, you know, that's where I had to go.
Do we have those around here, the clubhouse settings?
Nothing like that. We have one or two that I've seen of, heard of, but they're not to the extent like where honestly there's a meeting at 7:30 in the morning, there's a meeting at 9, there's a meeting 10, 11, 12. You know, a little break at lunch. There's more meetings. I started getting Monday Night Football there and everything else because I was like, well, you know, we're going to have to incorporate real life and have some fun at the same time, and that's how I started introducing fun activities down there.
Well, it seems to me that you've you took that fun and you've kept it with you. So I dare say you probably brought a little bit of that fun with you when you went there. But you know, it's a great story, and it shows something that I think is much more readily apparent to people today than it probably was 4 or 5 years ago. The fact that people come from wonderful backgrounds, you know, like your own, like mine. You know, I come from an Irish, Italian, Catholic family as well, and I've got wonderful parents, wonderful siblings. I have a great family, and you know, luckily for me, I'm not. I didn't get addicted to anything, and none of my siblings did. But you know, every family deals with these things. So it, you know, you're from a nice community in Rockland, and I think it just goes to show that. You know, it really affects anybody, or can affect anybody. It doesn't matter where you come from. And I think, you know, the story of your epiphany, realizing that, you know, at some point in time, I'm going to talk to somebody about what I did. And, you know, I think you've done a great job. Certainly, not that you're to atone for anything, but I think people will be very proud. I know I'm personally very proud because I've seen your program. And I remember, you know, one of the first, I think it might have even been your first event, I snuck in, I kind of flew in under the radar, and it was nice because nobody knew who I was, and that was good, that was okay.
Great.
And I was able just to see, because I was curious, I was so curious to see what it was you had in mind. And, you know, what I saw there was, I didn't know what to expect, but it was a wonderful, wonderful thing.
It was incredible, and I was so grateful to have you there. You were my celebrity.
Oh,
It was like, there he is, you know. You know, that was very exciting. And yes, that was the first event that we did. And actually, that was on my 25th sober anniversary. That's when we wound up doing that.
Wow.
And my family funded it. They asked me what I wanted for my 25th anniversary.
Yeah.
And I, you know, they're like, you know, do you want some money? You want to do this? You want to do that? And I said, no, you know what I'd really love to do? I'd really love to have an event to give back to the town I did the most damage in growing up. I wanted to leave a different legacy in Rockland because I had been out of Rockland for a long time. I was in South Florida for 17 years out of my recovery. I just wound up liking the weather and staying down there forever. But when I came back home, I didn't want people to think of, oh, Susie, oh yeah, we knew Susie when she was, you know, whatever, out all night long, walking around uptown in the groves and buying THC off of God knows who. And I wanted a different legacy, honestly, from my own self, because I knew I'd come a long way. And I wanted to help other people with that. So the first event was in Rockland at the Sandpaper Factory, actually the same exact day that Rockland Day was. And it was totally free. We had 20 addicts and alcoholics there in recovery and 20 kids.
Yeah.
And we said, let's try it out and just see see
Yeah.
how they do with the canvases. And we got the Carpenters Fund out of Millbury. They built the stands for my first event. So that would have never happened without them. The organization in Dorchester, which is escaping me right now, but they helped with the paint, and it was amazing. And then my family took care of the entire rest.
Wow.
And the community, the business, the other thing that was really cool about that was I wasn't sure how that would play out because Rockland Day was the exact same day. So I'm thinking, all right, they got thousands of people going to Rockland Day. And here I am going to the businesses, knocking on the doors and saying, would you mind, donating some food? Everyone said yes across the board. Everyone, from D'Angelo's to Stop and Shop, everybody. The pizza guys, everybody came together. So it showed me that the community would show up and stand up for, and everybody you go to said the same thing. It's really great what you're doing. I have a niece.
Right.
I have a dad. I have a this. You know what I mean? It's just
How did
everyone.
how did you turn your situation around? I mean, because you go from somebody who has a terrible addiction to drugs, you come to that epiphany, and you want to stop doing that. But the next step is how do you help yourself, but also help your community? And what you did for starting out with recovery for people who either your own age or older at first, perhaps, I would think, but then you kind of transition to some of the younger kids to where we are now. But how did you start helping older people, like on a peer recovery sort of basis, and then where did that lead you?
Sure. Well, what I found was it takes an addict to help an addict. I've had a million counselors over the years, sorry to say, but the ones that actually didn't have my affliction, and I'm going to call this an affliction because it is, and that didn't have that, they just didn't have the same understanding. I couldn't break down the feeling of the allergy to drugs and alcohol that you actually have. It's the most frightening thing in the world that you can take a sip of something and the monkey's right back on your back. You can have one surgery and get prescribed one pain med and you're back running that fast. It's just, I've never seen anything that devastating. And the effects, I mean, there's a saying on Facebook now in our recovery community that says, you'll stop using drugs one way or the other eventually. The question is if you'll be alive when you do. That's it. It's either going to, take us or we're not going to. So back to that, what I would say, I found it important to make sure that I had fun. That's the only way I stayed clean and sober, okay? So what I found was I wasn't a boring person before. I couldn't just work on myself in sobriety and have a sponsor and a home group and a this and a that. I was bored to death. As soon as I got physically a little healthier and my family started talking to me again and everything else, you get a little cleaned up, you get a little, and then you're like, geez, maybe I wasn't so bad because now you're bored. What are you going to do, right? So I found ways to enjoy myself, which, like I said, started in Florida. That's when I started the Monday Night Football, and we'd have a pool and this and that. And I said, we got to find something to do because I can't hang out with people I used to hang out with.
Right.
I can't be in those bars and restaurants and everything else where I feel like, I'm cheers and everybody knows your name. That's not going to happen anymore. We have to recreate an interesting lifestyle, clean and sober, if we want to make it last.
I can imagine that anywhere you go, you bring such a high level of energy that I think it's difficult to spend any time with you and not have fun. That's just my perception.
You're the best.
I don't know about that, but really,
That's great.
having been, I went to your event. I didn't know what to expect, and when I got there and I saw what folks were doing and really unleashing that creative part of their minds and really having fun with no necessity to enhance their reality with anything else except the company of these people who all understand. And like you said, I know that I don't and can't understand that because I've not been there, thank God. And I do agree with you that, and Tim and I have said on many occasions that we get to speak to a lot of experts on drug abuse and things like that. And they're not PhDs, and they're not MDs, and they're not professors. They're generally individuals who are in a correctional facility who realize now how they got there.
Absolutely.
So I think you're absolutely dead on with that, and I think that having seen your programs in action, I think it's really a wonderful thing. And isn't it doubly wonderful that your family asked you what you wanted for yourself to celebrate that milestone, that 25 years, and it was so thoughtful that your thought wasn't about anything for you. You didn't want to go to Bermuda. You didn't want a new set of golf clubs. You didn't want, anything like that. You knew this is what you wanted to do. And
I was sponsoring a lot of women at the time too, and that helped because I saw that same look of. I always ask everyone the same thing. I'm like, what do you like to do for fun? And they look at me, with this doe in headlights. They don't know what they want to do for fun because fun is always equaled doing drugs while they were doing something. So they really don't know what they want to do for fun. The other thing that I found was I was working with a lot of younger women, and a lot of them had children. And they were saying, we have a double whammy going on here now, right? Where not only am I getting clean, but now it's affecting my kids, and my kids are starting to act out, and they're acting out because mommy can't hang out with the parents on the hockey team anymore. Right. So now it's affecting their lifestyle, and the kids just don't know what to do with themselves. So I decided I had to find family-friendly events where it's not just the parents that are, doing like-minded things with their, peers and their peeps. We had to have stuff where the kids could go and have a good time. So the funniest thing, though, are the kids, because when the kids get involved, they want the masks, they want the gloves, they want the, you know what I mean? They want to feel like they're tagging and they're out there. Oh, my God, they're so precious. But I throw them all on a big canvas together. So by the end of the day, everybody knows each other. Right. Everybody's friends with each other because you have to share the paints and everything else. I learned that from trial and error. I used to give them small little canvases by themselves. They never talked to each other. Now I'm like, everybody's going on the one together, and by the end of the day, they're like, when can we go back? I want to see Johnny again. They're not meeting in a support group. They're meeting in a non-threatening, let's have a blast environment.
I think it's just great that, because I think as you've worked your way through, and from yourself to helping other people, and now, realizing some things work, some things don't work as well.
Right. Oh, definitely.
And so how do you fix that void to make something fun and pleasurable, even though you're in the middle of something so incredibly serious and dire? And I've also been at your events, and I've seen what goes on there and all the kids having a good time. And that brings your parents in too. And I think bringing the parents in so they see, I want to watch my kids grow up. I want to see them be successful, and I want to see them stay away from drugs, and I don't want them to experience. Parents can talk to our kids. Sure. But watching what goes on sometimes is just as important. So I think that, as you, and we'll let you start explaining about the graffiti, what you're doing right now with it, how we got there and what we're doing now. But that is such a positive transition, and I just want to thank you for that.
Thank you. But this doesn't even fit. This is just a mission. This is just where this keeps evolving. Trust me, this is blessed by the man upstairs, because a lot of the ideas I came up with, trust me, didn't just show up. One day it was like, let's do graffiti, because I had friends that I had lost to graffiti that never got clean and sober. That was number one. And I always thought, it's such a shame. I would see this amazing graffiti, and everyone's either going to prison, they're falling off a bridge, getting hit by a car or something. I mean, really? And this is so beautiful. I said, there should be a way to turn the negative to the positive. And it also, nothing kicks your endorphins in like this. This is a blast. And people that have our disorder, and it is a disorder, the synapse isn't there anymore for the endorphins. We got to kick it up a notch to get to the excitement level, and this does. The other thing is they can pick out their playlists, right? Everybody picks out their own songs. Right. Pick out what we're going to do. We use a variety of different mediums. We started with canvases, very standard, traditional. We wound up moving on to, I asked them, hey, what are we going to do for the homeless people? It's freezing out. We're going to have to do something for them. Let's make some blankets. How do we do it, guys? We get together. We have a powwow. We figure out what's going to work, what isn't going to work. This is an engineering process we all figure out together how to do this stuff. And thank you for the cough drops,
Oh,
but
you're
I think I'm
most welcome. Yeah, no, I think you're great too.
Anyway, so just to give you an idea, right? I don't know if you guys...
Hold it up for the camera, yeah.
Where are we at? Is this upside down? I can't tell.
I can't tell you.
Ay, ay, ay.
Oh, there you
Oh,
go.
there you go.
Okay, so what we have here is, this is one of the ones that we still have left that we brought to the Haven. And this is fabric paint, black fabric paint. And we did a lot of these at Stairway to Recovery, the Peer Recovery Center right in Brockton on Crescent
Wow.
Street that I do a lot of work with. And so their members got together. We had another event at Life Quest Community Church in Whitman where we did, because we had to come up with 65 of these. So I was afraid it was a good test to see, is everybody going to go the distance with this project? Are they going to get bored to death making these, you know?
Right.
Because, I mean, you can only make X amount at each event, and they're like, oh, my Lord. And I'm thinking, so I'm negative thinking, oh, they're going to hate this, you know, this isn't going to... They were like, we still have some more to do, right? I couldn't believe it. I was so proud of everyone. And then people got personally invested with these. And they said, well, mine's going to be, it's going to have gratitude, and I'm going to add a butterfly, and I'm going to do this, and I want to color it in with those people on the day you go. You know, and that's where it's at, man.
Wow.
They're giving back. Wow. You go through the back door to get them, to let them see that they're going to do something fun. Because, of course, right off the bat, no, it's going to be a drag. I'm not going to do it. Then they start doing it, and it's, oh, you know, and then next thing you know, they're proud of what they're doing. Because they're so used to the negative feedback.
Right.
I mean, I have people from the prison release program, Boston Public Health Commission.
Yep.
The Mattapan campus comes down once a month like clockwork to go to the nursing home.
Wow.
Their guys come down. They come down every single month to help me at the nursing home where we bring recovery graffiti to people that they've had brain injuries, traumatic brain injuries because they did Narcan and they didn't come all the way back. Okay? They've had car accidents from alcohol and drugs. They didn't come back. Motorcycle accidents, the whole 9 yards. The people in recovery are the ones that we bring recovery graffiti to once a month.
Wow.
And I'll tell you what, I wouldn't trade those guys for anything.
Wow.
They're awesome. So patient and tolerant and working with them because you want to talk about in the trenches, you have to actually hold on to the, you know, brush and help them on a lot of them. Wow. It's a real eye-opener.
Wow.
Well, I mean, you're such a very positive person. Do you feel that it's helpful to bring that positivity to the different groups that you're dealing with from all the way through? Because I think that to me, you're showing people, like you said, the other side of life, that there are other things other than drugs and alcohol and the problems that bring. And do you feel that's really important? And do you feel that do you think that's also something that maybe are we missing that in some of our programs that we have? There's a lot of really good intentioned people trying to get things done, and nobody professes to have all the answers.
No.
But do you think that maybe that would be something that would be helpful to a lot of our programs, something a little more positive?
Oh, definitely. That's a lot of points. So one of them would be, I could definitely use more funding for what I do. Just putting it out there. I mean, my events are always free. So I'm very grateful when your office is able to support, like you did so generously, the Independence Academy project that we're going to talk about on here, because that was huge for the Recovery High School, but we need way more of these. I've done 35 events in less than 12 months. So something that started out as once is like...
Wow.
You know what's important, Susie? I think, you know, a lot of people who are watching this are going to be as excited, I think, as you are and we are to hear this. Where do they find you?
Buffalo Wild Wings, once a month.
Yeah.
First Wednesday of every month at the Westgate Mall. We're at the Buffalo Wild Wings from 6 to 8:30 in the dining room. The staff there is awesome. They feed us wings. They take care of us. We're in there making stuff. It's awesome. And then once a month, we're at Life Quest Community Church in Whitman, which is right on Route 27. We do that on a Saturday night. It alternates. You can check our website, the www.24hrpower.com under events. You can find those. We're always doing everything from vigils to one event a month that's always a pay it forward, whether it's the Independence Academy or the nursing home or something like that. We're just, basically every week this summer, we have something going on at least once a week.
Wow.
We're at the Run to End Addiction June 1st for Teen Challenge.
Yeah, we'll be there.
We've got Recovery Graffiti at the starting line and the finish line.
Neat.
It's going to be awesome. I went in and sold that one to them. I'm like, we got to do it this year. We can't just look at, I mean, we understand how serious this is. And, you know, we see all the pictures of people that have passed away on the signs. But, I mean, what about, let's look at the hope and the recovery side of it, too.
Right.
So we're going to have a lot of that there.
Yeah, and I think it's great that, you know, you've got a website that people can go to. And, you know, we encourage people to look at, see what events are going on. And even if it's not relevant to them necessarily, come down and take a look at it, because it was really, it was a special thing when I first came. I didn't know what to expect, and it really was a wonderful thing. And I could see it was cathartic for so many people. And at the end of the event, you know, the beautiful artwork that's created.
That's
you
it.
know.
Wow.
And they just really, they all want to know when the next one is. And I look at the artists in recovery, and that's what my barometer is, right? I'll look at one of the guys from Stairway to Recovery. I know this is the first time he's hit the 2-year mark, you know, and he's been at our event since day one. That's got to have a little correlation somewhere. There's something fun that's still being done.
Yeah.
Things I would change, because I know that was on the table, I would have way more events for young kids, because we got to catch them young.
Right.
Forget about when they're already, you know, let's. I've had such pushback from the school systems. It's depressing to me. I'm like, what are you thinking? I mean, we have to hit them very young, okay? Where we're saying to them, you know, and I'm not just talking the DARE officer. That's a great, you know, start, but I'm talking, you know, let's get them involved. Let's have them have conversations. Let's bring Recovery Graffiti to them. Let them, this is kind of like art therapy, because you'd be amazed what they wind up drawing. And I'm like, okay, let's talk about this a little bit, which is great. I mean, that's what they need, an open forum. We need, instead of having just after prom activities, which is great, what are we doing for school vacations?
Right.
These kids are running around on weekend nights.
You have so many ideas.
Oh my God! But we need Recovery Graffiti out.
No, I agree. And you know what we really need to do? We need to get you back here.
Yeah.
because our time is running out.
Oh,
Unfortunately,
no.
today. Yeah, it goes by really
and we
quick.
haven't talked about Independence
No, I know,
Academy.
but we will the next time.
We'll do
because
another show,
I
Susie,
think it's really
absolutely.
important to do that.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And
I love this.
Yeah.
I want to
Thank you,
I
you
want to
guys.
thank you for coming here today and really putting your heart on the table for all of us. On behalf of Sheriff McDonald and myself, we thank you for the work that you do and the work that you're going to continue to do, and we'll be there every step of the way. So to everybody out there right now, we would thank you for watching us.
And let's get the website.
And let's
maybe
make
too.
sure we do put the website out there, which is Susie's website at 24hourpower.com. That's 24hrpower.com. Please go on their website, help them out. We need to get more funding and more people involved. Thanks so much for listening, and you all have a good day.